And then that transcended back into us playing because we just can't get rid of each other. So much so that we're getting married this year.
What?
You what?
Yeah.
Congrats, you guys.
Thank you.
It wasn't even on my radar that you two were together at all.
Yeah.
So, good job.
Yeah, it's because of the music. We're a more effed up version of Johnny and June, if you will.
Well, hopefully you end up a much tamer version of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
This video is brought to you by Tile. We'll hear more about them later. For now, let's get on to today's video. Welcome to Room 6, the channel dedicated to local and not so local music and the people that make it, including my guests. And my guests today are one half of a band that started as a duo, and in 2022, they are now a full-fledged band, and they are fairly new DI Records recording artists. DI Records has been an amazing source of content for the channel. They're friends of the channel. It's a Philadelphia-based record label. I'll put a link down in the description for them if you're looking for a record label. I recently reviewed on the channel the re-release of Free, a song written by their singer, and they out now have a new re-release of a song called Smoky Mountain Revival. Please welcome to the channel, Moonshine Jasmine. Hi, guys.
Hi. Thank you so much for having us.
Yay! So, interview's going great. Hey. And if you want to be on the channel, whether reviewed, interviewed, or both, hit me up using my email address down in the description, or click the Room 6 social media link. That's where you'll find all the things I'm doing online, ways you can support the channel should you so desire, and more. Also, I have merch, so, why not? You guys got anything to drink?
I got a Red Bull because it's that time of the night, baby.
I got a because it's that time of the night.
I'm drinking Room 6 soda. Hey, merch. All right. So number one, I wanted to because I thought we were going to have the whole band here. I kind of started deep diving, and I realized that at least one member of your band really doesn't have much social media presence. So I'm going with kind of generic questions, and I apologize you don't get the Sean Evans Hot Ones Nardwuar deep dive treatment that I like to give. But I will say, I'm going to throw out some of my usual interview questions, and if you're watching this and you're a fan of the channel, you're an OG Room Sixer, these are going to sound familiar. Thanks for hanging in there. By the way, if you're watching this and you don't know who Moonshine Jasmine or Megan Pennington is, thank you for watching. Let's go ahead and tell them who you are, what you do in the band, and who we're missing.
Sure. Well, first of all, my name is Megan Pennington. Hi. I am the lead singer and the rhythm guitarist of Moonshine Jasmine. Want to introduce yourself?
I'm Tyler Feathers. I'm the bass player and also vocalist on occasion.
Yeah. And then we also have Alex Wisniewski on lead guitar, one of the best players I've ever worked with. And the artist who doesn't have much of a social media presence is our drummer, Ben Osmond. And Alex and Ben are one heck of a tandem. But I got started playing music 10 years ago, and a very long, strange trip of solo touring and recording and all that led me to this guy here who was in multiple projects with me. We were the Megan Pennington Band, the Megan Pennington Duo. And then eventually, after the pandemic was kind of fading out, we got back together, started making music. And with another musician that we don't work with anymore, we created Moonshine Jasmine, which was originally like an acoustic trio. And as time has gone on, we went from being a trio to a duo. And then in 2023, we were very, very blessed to have Alex and Ben join the band. So we've just been, between myself and Tyler, we've been on and off making music professionally for about 10 years now.
Good stuff.
I started my first band when I was in 5th grade. Terrible.
You're supposed to be. Your first band, you're supposed to suck. That's how it goes.
That's why I'm glad I got it out of the way early.
Yeah, right. I waited till I was how old was I? I was 22 when I joined a first band, and they were 17 and 18-year-olds.
Oh wow!
You're like,
and we didn't suck
in the Offspring,
huh?
Oh, who was the guy? Was it the Offspring that They were all like
The,
16 and 17, and they hired the janitor, I think it was,
I don't
because he
know.
could buy them beer.
that's
It's a true story.
I love it.
I may have the band wrong. I'm pretty sure it was The Offspring, but look it up. They hired a guy
pretty
who was
punk rock. I like that.
because he was terrible. I think he played guitar and he was awful at it, but he could get him beer.
That's what
Friend
he
with
did.
benefits.
Exactly.
Right on. So right off the bat, I want to ask why the name. It's pretty, but is there a history behind it, or you just said these are two pretty words? Let's put them together.
So I love when people ask us this
If you
question.
tell the particular part of the
I'm
story,
going
I
to tell the
swear to
particular
God.
part of the story.
Bring
So,
it.
as I said, we were an acoustic trio, and I had created a Facebook group chat, and I said, "Guys, we need a band name because I don't want to be the Megan Pennington band again. I'm tired of it. It brought me nothing but bad luck." So we're in the chat and we're throwing different names. I forget the one I had suggested. It was good, but it wasn't that good. This one over here suggesting stupid names. My favorite one was Too Long Legs because when he stands up, he's 6'5". And
I threw out better names too,
that was
but I
the
would just like to
best one.
point out
I like that one the best.
there were
But
good names in there too.
he who shall not be named, as we call him in the world of Moonshine Jasmine these days, actually threw a list in the chat, and Moonshine Jasmine was in that list. And reading down immediately, I've always been kind of geared towards wanting to make like Janis Joplin type sounding music. So Moonshine Jasmine just like transported me to this like dark, divey, smoky bar where there's just like drums being banged on and people dancing like crazy. And I was like, that's the name. That's our band, and we've been Moonshine Jasmine ever since.
That's a good history, a good story, but also that's funny that he who shall not be named is responsible for the name of the band.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and switch over to some of my more usual interview questions. Number one, I want to talk earliest musical influence. Part of why I do this is to show people who musicians are off stage, because on stage, you know, you're a rock star. You're on stage. That's who you are, and if you have a persona on stage that's different than who you are off stage, it's nice to see that people are like real. That you're quote unquote normal people. So I like to ask things like your earliest musical influence. And I'm not talking what did you listen to growing up. I'm talking, do you have a memory of that moment where you said, I want to do that?
I do. I was in the second grade, and my elementary school at the time was getting ready for our variety show at the talent show. And my second grade brain thought it would be a wonderful idea to audition with a dance that I made up that morning. And I didn't get in, but it was to a Shania Twain song. And I was a big fan of hers at the time. I grew up with the Up album. And I wore that thing out. And it was, getting up on stage for that variety show and not getting into dance. They kind of gave me the pity slot and let me sing the national anthem because, again, I was 8. So they were going to just tell me to go F myself. So I sang this, and it was just a combination of listening to Shania Twain at home by myself, getting up on that stage in front of people and actually getting to sing. I was like, man, between all the music I listen to and just how good this feels, like there's just something about this. And ever since that day, I've told everybody when I grow up, I want to be a singer. If I can't be a singer, I'm going to be a teacher. If I can't do either, I don't know what I'm going to do. And that's still true 29 years later.
Nice, sir.
Mine's a mine's a little weird, to be honest. I was it was literally months before I started that band I had mentioned earlier, my very first band. I was I'd already been into like, like bands like a lot of the old 80s metal bands like Iron Maiden. I was getting into more stuff in the 90s like Alice in Chains and Pantera. And my all-time favorite band all the way back then when I was that little tiny fourth grader up until today has been Motorhead. And I stopped.
Nice.
Like I'm just scrolling through the TV stations, and I think it was VH1 Classic back when that was a thing, and they were playing. It was a live Motorhead show, and I was like, I never actually had seen live Motorhead before. Let's check this out. And it was near enough to the end, and Lemmy, in all his glory, is standing there with that Rickenbacker, just whizzing out of the amp. And he walks up to the amp, walks up to the microphone, and gives the classic "We are Motorhead and we play rock and roll." And then they busted into "Rock and Roll" by Motorhead, and like I'm watching Lemmy just beat the crap out of this bass guitar, and then it's cutting to the crowd, and Lemmy was never a good looking dude ever.
I'm sure the ladies
Yeah.
would have begged to differ.
Well, they cut to the crowd, and I vividly remember. I'll see if I can maybe find this particular show again and see if I can find the shot to show you at least. It cuts from Lemmy beating the crap out of this bass, singing the song "Rock and Roll," and then it cuts, and right in the front row are these two really pretty girls, and me in like 4th grade was like, "Oh, that's how you get girls to pay attention to you." And I just want to point out too, I have a controversial opinion on this. All your favorite musicians, at least the men, started doing it because it would pick up chicks. Don't let them be. Oh, it's about the love of the
Yeah.
music. If you're in it for the chicks, you're in the wrong. No, you got
No.
into it because of the chicks. You may have changed your tone, but that's where it started.
For me, it wasn't that it like nebulous the chicks. It was a particular girl,
Exactly.
That's
and
sweet.
I started on acoustic guitar writing love songs, and
Aw.
I still remember a horrible first song called "I'm Lonely."
I love the name though.
Great.
I mean, you'll never guess what it's about. Yeah. And here I am many, many, many years later, not married to her, thankfully.
Yeah,
But anyway,
sounds
I
good.
digress. So from there, how long have, well, we said Moonshine Jasmine was basically kind of formed in 2022. I said that during the intro. Uh, but is that when you two kind of hooked up and started making music, or were you doing something before it was it was just, Megan Bennington band, and then you said we're transitioning the name? Like, how long were you doing music together before Moonshine Jasmine?
So we started working together as a byproduct of I was trying to form a band again. I was working with a guitarist named Dan at the time who knew Tyler. So he brought him into our group. God, that was what, 20 I was still in college, so what, 2016. So we started playing there. That was when we were the Megan Pennington trio. And then I went out to Chicago in 2018, so we stopped playing music together for a while because I kind of went out there to try my hand at the touring and doing all that jazz, and it worked for a while. And then I ended up getting pregnant with my son, so I came back in 2019. And right before the pandemic, I had called the guys up and I was like, "Hey, I'm back. It's time to play music. Let's rock and roll. I got us a couple gigs. We're going to the Hard Rock. Like, let's go." So we started to do these gigs, and we had a 4-piece by that point. We were a 4-piece acoustic.
We never played a gig either.
We played one.
No, I didn't.
Well, you didn't come to that. We ended up at the Hard Rock, but the day the Hard Rock show happened was like 2 days before the pandemic happened and the country locked down. So like I
Yeah.
wasn't sure that show was going to happen. So then fast forward to late 21, early 22, I call him back up and I'm like, "Hey, it's starting to open up back again. Let's make something happen." And I was actually doing a radio show at the time, so I had him come in, do my show with me, and then that transcended back into us playing because we just can't get rid of each other. So much so that we're getting married this year.
What?
You what?
Yeah.
Congrats, you guys.
Thank you.
It wasn't even on my radar that you two were together at all.
Yeah.
So, good job.
Yeah, it's because of the music. We're a more effed up version of Johnny and June, if you will.
Well, hopefully you end up a much tamer version of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're like on the scale. On one side's Johnny and June, on the other side's Sid and Nancy. We're like a solid 5, I think.
I think that's all right with me.
I'm headed down to Jackson. Let go of my coat. I just dated myself there, but so
That song.
so it's safe to say that regardless of those years where hard rock kind of happened, it's safe to say though you two have played many a show together.
Yes, many, many shows.
Cool. On to my next. I love this question because I get different answers every single time, and it it really reveals a little bit of like the genesis of how that you became, who you are now as musicians and performers. What's your favorite show memory at performing? And it doesn't have it could be pre Moonshine Jasmine, but what is your favorite show memory where you're performing? And I mean, either things went off the rails, things you checked off a bunch of rock star wish list things, someone went to jail, something. What is that one you if you had to pull out a story at a party, like, oh man, this one time, what's your favorite show memory?
Oh gosh, you go first. I gotta think about this one.
It's when I met you.
that was
That is a
that
fun
was after a
story,
show.
actually, but I wouldn't say that's my favorite one.
I barely remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you were
I
hungover.
was so hungover that day.
Oh man, favorite show memory.
I think my favorite show memory was actually a even like Megan Pennington band show I did. I played in a show once, and I was literally a fill-in bass player. They called me up about 3 hours before the showtime and went, "Here's the songs we're doing. Learn them and be down here in like an hour." And I did it. I figured them out, and I came down and I played with those cats. But in the middle of the show, I'm in the groove. I'm doing my thing. It's like a heavier, not quite heavy metal, but a decent hard rock act. I got two guitars, a vocalist, a bass player, and a drummer. And the one guitarist goes to do the classic. You take the guitar and you throw it around yourself and then catch it again.
Oh no!
The neck, the strap, the strap lock on the front comes off, and the guitar goes flying directly into the other guitar player.
Oh no!
God.
Like he stood like this, and literally the guy's like right that way. So he throws it off, and it shoots off and hits the other guitar player. I mean, it hits him too, like right in the chest.
Ouch!
And then for about a good minute and a half, it's just drums and bass and vocals. And
And screaming.
the three of us missed it because I was on the opposite side of the stage. The drummer was he was behind the drums, and the singer had his foot up on the monitor and was just doing his thing. We all basically essentially had our backs to it, so we all missed it happening. Suddenly, there's just no guitar.
Oh jeez!
The three of us are just like, "What's going on? Hey, the guitar players are gone. That's interesting."
Not just one,
Yeah,
but
that's
two.
it's one thing if one of them has like, oh, maybe something's wrong. They're both gone. Like, what's going
Uh,
on here, boys?
did you ever see when Nirvana played? I think it was the VMAs, but some award show. Back when you see kids, there used to be a time where music video channels had music videos, but back when it was one of those awards things, and they're playing, and Chris Novoselic, the bass player,
When he knocks himself out.
he hucks his bass
Yeah.
into the air and thinks he's going to catch it, but the headstock wings him right in the
Oh
head,
my
and he
God.
drops. He drops. Meanwhile, the other two were still playing, and and the best part is he's laying on the floor, and the song's over. Kurt comes up and like kicks him. It's like, what are you doing? And it wasn't until later they found out. But I probably put the gif up or gif the clip up, and I just think that's. I remember watching it and being like, did you? That just happened, right?
He just cave his skull in with a bass. That was funny.
But I bet that guitarist never did that guitar trick again, right?
He never did at least as long as I knew him. He never did. So you ever see
Because
the
I bet
video?
if he tried, that other guitarist was going to kick his butt.
Makes me think of that video of Travis Scott walking off the stage on accident to auto tune. Sure, it's so funny.
How about you,
So
Megan?
I've been racking my brain because I have a lot of stories that I could tell here, but I think my favorite story. Now I'm going to preface this story with the artist in question is from a state in which this is legal. I am not, but that's never stopped me.
Oh no!
So I was with the Megan Pennington band. We got a gig to open up for Casey Abrams at the Hard Rock Cafe. He's a very, very talented cello player that was touring the country at the time. And the way it works here, I don't know if all of the Hard Rock cafes do it this way, but at ours, Dresky Entertainment will email us, we'll submit what shows we want to play, send the music to the people, then the people who are coming into town pick our songs and we get on the shows that way. So Casey had handpicked us. And at the time, I was with this really not so great guy, and he was a big loudmouth. And this actually, in the long run, helped me out because he goes, "I'm going to go up to Casey because I just know that he smokes." And I'm like, "Oh my god, you're going to make an idiot of, make a fool out of all of us, make me look bad, blah blah blah." So naturally, walks up and has this conversation. Casey lets it out that yes, in fact, he does, consume. So my ex makes intentions to try to get us to hang out after the show. So the show is, long and over, and Casey handed us $40 and said, "Make something happen." We made something happen. We get back, and mind you, he's from California. So we walk outside the Hard Rock that's down on Station Square in Pittsburgh, and he pulls out a little glass bowl in his pocket. He lights his lighter,
Ooh.
and me and Austin are looking at each other like, "What are you doing?" Because this was like before Pennsylvania even had like the medical cannabis in the state.
Yeah.
So this was a big, big no. We're like, "No, no, it's not California." So we ended up finding ourselves up into this little parking garage that's not far from the venue. Took care of business and all that. Casey gave me his phone number and and told us, and I quote, "You guys are some talented MFers," and left. So then a year or two later, I open for him again. He remembers me, and we end up hanging out again. And I have confidence that if I was to text the number that he gave me, and it's him, we could have a conversation just like we did. It was so cool. Every time I think about Casey Abrams, I think about how great he is.
That's cool, and that's nice to hear that, for once, the old adage, never meet your heroes.
Yeah,
It's nice to hear that, you met somebody who you looked up to and thought was very talented, and turns out, they were cool. Um but yeah, that I could totally picture that, and you're just like, "No, no, 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 no."
yeah.
I thought the direction was gonna go more like, and suddenly a couple's up, and
Oh no,
yeah.
I won't tell those stories where people can hear me.
The fun part is Casey Abrams just occasionally appears in my TikTok for you page
Yeah.
for some
And
reason.
he'll respond if I comment on his stuff. He's such a cool guy. So if you like that kind of music, I highly recommend Casey Abrams.
Right on. Cello, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. I remember way back when I thought I wanted to be a music major. We had Yo-Yo Ma come in.
Wow.
Yeah, anybody, even if you're not a cello fan, you know the name.
Yeah.
And he was so cool and down to earth, and just totally was just throwing out tips and advice, and at the time I didn't realize what a big deal that was. I knew his name. I knew he was a big deal, but to have him come to a community college, vocal ensemble class.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I digress. Moving on. Actually, before we move on, we're going to take a quick little break here to hear a quick little message from future Josh. So yeah, I'm getting a little empty. So who's break?
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Thanks, Josh from the past. It's a sad fact for musicians on the road or just playing at their local bar that gear gets stolen sometimes because people. Fortunately, there's a way to help get it back. With Tile, you have a backup plan when something needs to be found. Just tap Find in the Tile app. Watch the Tile detector's green rings fill in as you get closer to them. Tile also has lost and found stickers with a QR code full of your contact info. That can be scanned by whoever finds it. If you lose something when you're out and about, Tile can help you locate it. View its most recent location on a map, and it'll show you the last time it was with you or the last time your Tile app was able to locate it. You can also tap Notify when found, so the Tile network, which is every phone running the Tile app and their network extenders, can help locate the lost item. Each device on the network is able to help locate Tile trackers and send location updates to your Tile app. Anonymously, of course. And with the Premium Protect plan, Tile will even reimburse you if something can't be found. Just for watching this video, and for being part of Room 6, and for a limited time only, you can use my affiliate link down in the description to get peace of mind and save some cash. Plus, you'll be helping out the channel. Thanks to Tile for being a sponsor, and let's get back to the show. We're back, and if that sponsor spot interested you at all, please consider clicking the link down in the description. I don't know what it was for. Hopefully it was good, but you'll save some money. I'll get some money. It's a win-win, baby. Now, back to them. In case you're just joining us, what are you doing joining in the middle of a video? But this is Moonshine Jasmine. Stick around. We're going to be. I mentioned how their new re-release of Smoky Mountain Revival is out now. We're going to be seeing the music video for that after this interview. So stick around for that. It won't be awesome. Now then, back to you two. You're based out of where exactly?
We're based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
You are in Pittsburgh. Okay. I thought I'd seen something that you were, I don't know why, in Colorado. So I was like, I wanted to clarify that. Okay.
No. I'd like to go there someday,
Took
but
a
no.
wrong turn. I knew I should have taken a left turn at Albuquerque.
Westerly Webbit. So, yeah, I got the reference. So, I wanted to talk about the music scene where you are in terms of local original music, because that's what the channel's about. What changes have you seen from pre-quarantine to post-quarantine? Because I know here in Vegas, you started getting a little bit of clickiness. You started getting to where it was hard to draw a crowd unless if you weren't a certain level. But after quarantine, I remember I was at one of the first shows after quarantine opened up. It didn't matter what you played. If it was live music, the place was packed, and they loved you, like literally. And you get the weirdest bills, like acoustic solo person opening, and then pop punk band, and then a heavy metal with makeup band, and the whole crowd loved every single thing. So I was wondering, have you noticed a difference between before and after?
So, with all due respect, I'm gonna take this one. so
You're the boss. You're the boss. Come on.
the reason why I say that is because everybody has their own pandemic story. Mine first led me to my own very shitty home recording studio that ultimately led me to owning my own radio station. So I have been very involved in the music scene, especially post pandemic. And in my 10 years, I busted into playing live music around here in 2014. So in just about 10 years of worth of time, I've noticed an extreme change, actually. It was very difficult to get a gig back in the day. You had to know somebody to get in. It wasn't an easy thing to just like send an email and get your money and whatever. And it seemed like a lot of artists were playing for little to no pay. Now I don't know if that had something to do with me being as young as I was at the time, but it was even still a constant once I reached the age of drinking in bars and stuff. It was just hard to get gigs. It was hard to make these venues really pay attention to you. And then when the pandemic hit and everybody was coming back, it almost seemed like there was a surge of these bars trying to come up with like get rich quick schemes. So all of these bars that didn't even have the means to start doing music started doing music, and tons of us were getting shoved into little tiny corners, and anything you could think of when it comes to a dive bar, we were getting it. But not only have these venues kind of opened their eyes and said, "Hey, music is a good market," because of how many musicians are in Pittsburgh, but there has been a surge of record labels, of like publication assistants, radio stations like Scarfire. Um, I know that there's just people are helping people nowadays. I a perfect example, the Scarfire Radio Artist Showcase is a thing we do once a month. And as you were talking about having like an acoustic group with like a screamo band, the last one we did last month, I had this like punk metal group with this like Florence and the Machine type acoustic act, and it's definitely a place nowadays where collaboration has varied. I'm not just working with other country artists. I'm not just working with other folk artists. I have friends who make R&B. I have friends who make rap. I have all kinds of different people that I'm connected with now, and it's easier to make your money. It's easier to get people to pay attention, and it's easier to help each other grow, and it's a good thing because we're all doing good. We're being good to each other, and I feel it's even a better thing because it's allowing the people who kept those old fashioned mindsets, that click that I'm going to step on everybody's toes. It's allowing those people to kind of be weeded out So, it seems like Pittsburgh is really becoming a music city, and I'm really hoping that people will see this interview and listen to the bull crap that comes out of my mouth and be like, "Hey, you know what? She may be right," and come check it out, because there's a serious, immense level of talent from literally every genre. You name it, we got it. You want to add
Yeah,
anything?
that sounds.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
the only thing I could add is when you said weed 'em out, I thought of the SpongeBob movie. We're on a baby hunt and don't think we don't know how to weed 'em out.
No.
And that's all we can do for copyright. Thank you. It's that YouTube algorithm, man. So
Yep.
everything you said is basically what my channel is based on, and um, I agree. I agree completely. It is interesting when it's when someone doesn't read the room, so to speak, and doesn't want to change, like, to keep up with the times here. Um, I the reason, like, I also understand exactly what you mean by having, a hodgepodge of genres represented in a particular show, because I have something called the Room Six showcase, where it's 5 acts that have been on the channel, and maybe even performed here. But I try to make it at least a semblance of the same sort of idea of genre. But I've had everything, and so it's not uncommon to have, say, somebody who writes children's music, followed by somebody who's a rapper, followed by a pop punk band, and then my headliners are some band where the singer plays ukulele, and
Love
and
it.
they're, like, just like a cool little rock band.
Yeah.
Uh, and that being said, if you find yourself, this is going to post, this should post, time of recording, on January 20th. Okay, Saturday, January 20th. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
Cool. So, if you should find yourself in Las Vegas on February 10th, dear viewer, I am putting on my first ever Room 6 showcase that is all heavy metal.
Ooh.
It's all bands, because there's no heavy metal solo act. There shouldn't be. Anyway,
I met
yeah, I
one
said it.
actually.
I need a heavy metal like singer songwriter now.
Right. But no, this is the metal and punk communities have been very good at the channel, and this is, I was like, okay, I've done some where it was, the softer side of things. I want to go loud, and this will be my first ticketed show as well. If you buy tickets online, I'll have a link down in the description. But if you want tickets online, they're $6.66 plus tax. And if you buy them at the door, they're $10. For 5 bands, that's value. And not only that, they're all different, like, types of metal. So I put the flyer on the screen, and the link, the ticket link, and the Facebook event page link will be down in the description. If you're if you're if you're local, or if you're going to be in Vegas on February 10th, love it if you swing by, because it's going to be an awesome show. It's at a new venue they've been, fighting with permits and everything. They've started booking shows finally, and the co-owner has been on my channel as the keyboardist of a band called Short Fuse, and they are the headliners.
Sweet.
So I think I'm guaranteed it's going to be a good show, because
Yeah, that sounds
he's got
awesome.
a vested interest in making it a good show. And it's a showcase in name only, in that everybody has been on the channel. It is not a showcase in that they're playing for exposure. I'm paying them. They're getting paid to play. Um, and I'm trying to put on the kind of show that I always wanted to do. I did music in Vegas for over 10 years, and then after the last time the band broke up, I was like, I'm kind of, I'm gonna take a hiatus and, raise my kid and figure out my life and everything. And I changed my career path. And by the time I realized I don't want to sit in a corner playing acoustic covers, and I'm tired of being the guy in the band who does the website and the promotion and the blah 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 and blah blah. And I decided to go the YouTube route, because I realized nobody was doing what I'm doing on YouTube for local Vegas music, um, more than the occasional thing. And it's amazing to me that 4.5 years later, I'm still kind of the only game in town, which is weird. Like, I'm challenging y'all. If you don't like this statement that I'm making, come on. This stuff's this gear's not that expensive. Let's go. But
I'm gonna
I
start a YouTube
really,
channel that covers Vegas music.
yeah, right. Well, the problem is you look up Vegas, even Vegas local music. You get like stuff on the Strip, or you get here's a clip somebody took on their phone of a show, kind of thing. But hopefully, I'm making a slightly more cohesive and something that the acts on the channel um, want to show people. So
Yeah. I think
there
it's
you go.
awesome that you're doing what you're doing with this because, I'm one of those people that doesn't really think of Vegas as much more as like a place to go see who's that guy?
Carrot
Wayne
Top.
no, I forget the artist name, but like
Wayne Newton.
Wayne Newton. Thank you, Wayne Newton. Yeah, that's like
I was way
all you
off.
whatever. That's all you
He
ever get to see
he
out there.
doesn't
So,
perform anymore. Yeah,
well, you know what I mean.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
type of people,
I'm
with the
just saying.
residencies and all that. So to hear that there's a thriving independent scene in Vegas is so cool.
There is. It's not on the level of like Austin. It's not the juggernaut we want it to become, but we're working hard on it. There's a few of us that are trying to get to do stuff on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
One of the things I do on the channel, I live stream songwriter showcases, songwriters such as yourselves. And so for that thing, we're never going to have a metal act, but it's those tend to be in smaller places, just by dint of it's one person with a guitar, or it's a duo, maybe it's a full band, but this is a showcase where they're playing for exposure.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. It's put on by a good friend of the channel, a friend of mine named Hal Savar, and I was actually at one last night, live streaming one at a really cool spot called Taverna Costera. But there, it's like the problem is you have a lot of venue owners that, like you said, just shoving music anywhere they can, but they're not supporting it.
Yeah.
Um, we used to do. I'm not going to name places, and I'll get back to the interview tangent. But we used to do a showcase at this place, and it was a hotel, and they have a lounge, they have a DJ set up and everything, but they would fight us on every single thing. We're like, hey, it's a songwriter showcase. Can we get more than just a straight up and down microphone stand? People playing
Yeah.
guitar, boom mic stand. They had that they had a sound guy who would show up right before the show's gonna start, make sound happen, and go away, and then come back after we were done. So you had constantly musicians running over the board trying to fix stuff.
Oh my god.
Yes, that expression on your face is exactly. And the sad thing is, I'm kind of glad, because a lot of what I do now, like a lot of the way I handle certain curveballs that come to me from these things, is because of that venue. But like now, I have all the lighting I could need for a show to make it look at least semi attractive, both in person and on photo and video. Which when I go to these things, I also am doing getting what I need to make a review video of that performance. It is so frustrating when you go in and you're like, oh, there's a stage, there's some pot lights in the ceiling,
Mhm.
there's where's power? Okay, there's power. But yeah, and then you get places like Taverna Costera, where the owner is also a musician, really good musician actually. And I walk in, and everything was set up because they had like an open mic right before us, and they just left it all up, just muted the channels we needed. It was I was able to walk over and be like, ping ping, test test, done. I, power, like everything was there. They specifically had carved out a spot in this place for music, and you can tell like I got a freaking, where is it? It's downstairs. I'm doing this because like I know the owner, and I've been doing this for a while, and I've reviewed shows at that place before. I've reviewed the venue. I, I get handed a 20% off artist appreciation card,
Nice.
and I was like, I, I'm, I'm not performing. I was like, oh my god, it was really cool. So shout out, Jeff.
Yeah.
Um, but those kind of places are few and far between, unfortunately, in a town that's oversaturated with local music. So Vegas is the other end of the spectrum where it's hard for us to build a big local scene because there's so many, which is weird. It's like you would think, well, there's so many, but the problem is the reason I started the channel is because musicians are terrible at promoting themselves.
Yes, we are. We are. It's hard.
And they promote their shows. So I started looking at channels that did certain things I liked from a video content creation and a video production editing standpoint. And I also thought about my experience as frontman for more than one band, and just what I had seen, all the different promotions and everything. I was like, okay, if all you're going to do is 2 days before the show post a flyer once, the least I can do is talk about it, and maybe draw some attention to it. So it this is my really long-winded way of saying, if you are interested in what's going on in the local original live music scene in Las Vegas and parts therein, I have a podcast once a week on Twitch that is called Room 6 Radio. I also post the recording of that on the channel. But Room 6 Radio, it's basically me. I look at a list right here, I look at my calendar, and I say, here's what's on my radar for this week, Sunday through Saturday. And hopefully, somebody sees it and goes like, oh, hey, that sounds like a cool show. I'll go to that. And that's a quick 13, 15-minute little thing. It's not even scripted really. It's just like you said, I'm trying to help. Everybody's trying to help grow this thing, but the problem is we don't know where we're going.
Yep.
So I don't know why I went down that road. Tangent over. So, with that being said, were you doing the poetry? Okay. Coo.
Yeah.
All right. Couple more questions, and then we'll get to the music video, I promise. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Oh, now then, you're 4-piece at the moment, right?
Yes.
So the standard guitar, drums, bass, and then you play acoustic and sing, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Any plans to add any like keyboard or cello?
I've considered maybe finding a keyboard player. We have had one hell of a time finding musicians. I just told this joke earlier, actually. I went from being somebody who was fighting to find musicians and I had just a bass player to having a drummer and a lead guitarist and a backup drummer and lead guitarist. So,
Ooh,
it's a
stable.
possibility. I do like the sound of the keys, especially if we're going for some of that more like, real jangly bluesy rock stuff. But I don't know.
We could always talk about the really dumb list of instruments I own and am learning for.
Want to throw more in her into it?
Well, I'll throw this little seed, little bee in your bonnet. Keys allows you to have like experiment with, hey, let's get a little some string sounds or some horn sounds or something, even if you don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
That might turn into, hey, when we record this song, let's get some horns, or let's get
Yeah.
some strings, and that's not hard to do. All right, so from there, what's 20 it's we're barely into 2024, hasn't become a dumpster fire yet. So what is on the horizon for you? Is there something on your horizon for 2024 that you want people to know about that's coming up?
Well, first and foremost, we're getting started with the tour pretty early this year. It is the 5th of January. This month alone, we're going to McHenry, Maryland, Akron, Ohio, and I'm doing an interview by myself down in Nashville, Tennessee. So steady on the tour. So if you know someplace that wants to book us, cough cough room 6 Las Vegas, let them know. We'll come play. You got a zip code, we'll get to it. But other than that, with the signing of DI, things got delayed last year. So this year, the main focus is to release the Moonshine Jasmine album. And in tandem, since I'm double signed, I'll be releasing a solo album as myself as well. I was actually just on the phone with somebody who will be helping me with the solo album. So it sounds like we're going to get that process started pretty soon. So I'm really hoping to, once the rest of the re release album for I'm Not Sorry is out, which is where Smoky Mountain Revival comes from. Once that's out in February, I'm really hoping we'll be able to start releasing things come summertime. But hopefully by Christmas next year, we'll have those fully out and done. Yeah, we're re-releasing the I'm Not Sorry album, which brings the Smoky Mountain Revival music video and the re-release of the Whole Lot of Trouble music video. And you keep mentioning the free song that I did a while back. That's actually going to be re-recorded, so we're going to get a totally different feel on that for the new album. So I'm really excited because I watched your review of Free before. Great video, by the way. I saw that you had made mention. I'm excited to see what 2024 or 3 at the time Megan has to bring up to the table. So you get to see 24 Megan and all that grit and bitter feelings that I caught over the last 10 years. And it's going to be something really cool. So I think that the biggest thing is just getting those recordings out and keep on touring.
Nice. You mentioned about how kind of double booked, double billed. You're talking about, Megan Pennington and Moonshine Jasmine both are on DI Records, right?
Correct.
Okay. What is Scarfire Records like? Where does that factor in? Is that a record company, or is that like the name for something the radio show? What's Scarfire Records?
So Scarfire Records was initially a pandemic project of mine. I was allowing my musician friends to come over and let me record them for free in exchange for me to be able to use them as guinea pigs to kind of learn what I was doing. Uh, that in tandem, I was doing things on TikTok, trying to be TikTok famous, and it didn't work. But at the time, I was going live, and I started like playing music and talking over it, kind of like a radio DJ would. And I just told you this story today, funny enough. I will never forget him as long as I live. His name on TikTok is Riding in Dirty Jersey. He said to me one night in a TikTok live stream, "Hey, you should start a radio show." And so I did. I started working with a no longer existing internet station in Michigan called Unrestricted Radio. And because I had Scarfire Records, and I took a lot of time to come up with that name. Yeah, it's really special. I'm a deadhead, so for those of you who know Scarlet Begonia is the fire in the mouth, put it together, make Scarfire. Yes.
I was going to ask because it's
Yes.
not a common name.
No. I for the longest time I was gonna call it Shakedown Studios, but I was like, that's too mainstream.
I mean, it's not bad.
No, it's that
It's
almost
better
was
than
the
what
plan.
I.
It was almost Shakedown Studios, but no, we went with Scarfire. So because I had Scarfire Records, Riding in Dirty Jersey gave me this idea. I worked with Unrestricted, went through it, said this isn't working, and if you want to get something done right, you do it yourself. So I just took that name and tacked it onto the radio station. So another thing in 24 is one of my goals for the radio station is I'd like to make Scarfire Productions an LLC. So
You tried
Sorry,
to get
it was me.
TikTok famous. I accidentally got TikTok famous.
How'd you get TikTok famous?
Oh man.
It can't be worse than my brief flirtation with TikTok fame.
So it's yeah, I'm about to air a lot of dirty laundry out on this interview real quick because I have to for the story to make sense.
Bring it. That's why the disclaimer is there at the beginning of the interview.
Yeah. So right after high school, I got accepted to, it was actually Pittsburgh Technical Institute at the time. Now it's Pittsburgh Technical College. And pretty soon it might be closed
Oh.
the way they're going. But so I went to PTI for film. It was literally, had I graduated, it would have been multimedia and in parentheses film right there on my diploma. And ended up dropping out because I don't play well with others. And I'm like, well, I just did a semester of like learning how to make film. I should see about maybe getting a job in movies or some crap like that. And so this guy posts an ad online. It's like, I need a sound guy to work on my independent movie. And I'm like, oh man, I could do that. I could be a sound guy on an independent movie. So I reach out to him, and turns out this dude is simultaneously running an adult film company, and he's money laundering.
Nice.
Fast forward to today, that adult film company doesn't exist, and he's in jail for money laundering.
Rough.
So I found a TikTok. It was one of them ones where like the half naked girl is doing the video, and she's making like some sort of joke about how, like, what's it like filming and editing porn. And I'm like, I've have extensive knowledge in the field, and I explain in my little TikTok how it's terrible. Frankly, it might be one of the worst fucking jobs I've ever had in my life. I hated every second of it. Like,
I mean, you know how it's going to end.
yeah, I mean, what was the phrase I used in the video? You spend 8 hours staring at a woman's hoo-ha or something like
Yeah.
that. And
Ah.
for whatever reason, that video exploded. Like at the time, like that was like my 4th or 5th TikTok I ever made.
I think it was your first.
No, there was a couple before it.
Oh, that's right.
And the ones before it were getting like 100 views, 150 views. If I broke 200, I was like, oh man, look at me. I jokingly say, look at me and getting TikTok famous.
And then 16,000 views later, everybody knows he's the porn guy.
16,000. That video's at 240,000 now.
Oh my god!
Wow.
I'll pop in on it periodically to see, and it keeps going up.
Well, you know,
like
sex sells, right?
2 years old now, I think. Somewhere around there, 2, maybe 3 years old, and it is still, people are still viewing it. And I'm just like, I made a follow up. It was just like, don't make me the funny porn guy, please. I'm begging of you.
Someday that kid's gonna find out. Hey. I have a question. I mean, I thought I was doing good because one video got a K. You know.
Ooh.
I know. I was like, ooh, wow, that's amazing. Moana, the movie, the song "You're Welcome."
Yeah.
I redid it, called "You're Grounded," and made a video, TikTok quick cut style. And I wrote this song. I wrote lyrics because my child just turned 16 at time of recording 2 days ago. And this was like 12, 13, you know, when, okay, we're pushing, and the door came off the hinges at one point. And I took the opportunity to make a whole thing about it. And the comments were like, what did I just watch? What did I just see with my eyeballs? But it was like, you know, looks like your bedroom door is on a brick away. Kind of.
I love it. I love it. I gotta find that.
She was not pleased. I ruined the song for her. It took years before she would allow the song to be like enter her ears and she would enjoy it. So yeah, but you know what? Behavior changed. I didn't do the cut the door in half thing. But
That's
yeah.
funny.
Wow, we're all over the map here. Okay. Last question. Last question. You made it. Yay. So, this is a question I ask of all my prey. And again, you OG Room Sixers know what's coming. We're going to circle back to that first question about your earliest musical influence. And I want to do that. Let's pretend we're talking to little you. Okay? Really what this is your chance to talk to, like, you know, new musicians, young musicians, or, you know, little you. What is one thing that you wish you could go back and say, hey, you need to know about this? It doesn't necessarily have to be a warning, but just something that you wish older you could have said, hey, here's a thing you're going to need to know about.
I would tell my younger self that it is the most rewarding thing you're ever going to do in your life, but as a woman in the music industry, it is a very dangerous place, and to be more prepared for the types of people that will come your way because uh, uh, we're writing new music, right? And I've got a new song I've been writing. It's called "Done Running," so it's kind of this exact question in about 5 minutes of music, kind of telling my younger self, hey, it's been a long, messed up trip, man, and you've become a better person than you once were, and you've learned that, as the line is, after all these years, I'm not coming, I'm done running. So I think that's what I would tell my former self.
Nice. A little bit of the Grateful Dead there. What a long,
Yeah.
strange trip it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah, circle back.
I'd
Sir?
probably I'd probably go ahead and tell myself to please just take one fucking guitar lesson. Just one.
I have I have a Room 6 video you might want to watch. It's called "Do I Need Lessons?"
I've made it. I've made a, like, all things considered, surprisingly successful music career for a person who, like, doesn't understand a thing about music theory. Everything I learned about guitars or really any instrument was I sat with it on my lap and went, what if I do this? And I did something with my finger and it made a cool noise and I went, ew.
Hey, it worked for Dave Grohl.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
He never took a guitar lesson.
I just
He's on record saying, "I play the guitar like it's a drum set."
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he just does stuff, and you learn over time. Like, okay, this sounds cool and blah blah blah. But he plays guitar like I play guitar, which is, once I find something I like, I'm good. But don't ask me to read sheet music. I can read sheet music for piano, but for guitar I can't. I need like chords, maybe
Yep.
tabs, maybe. But like when I write songs, I write the lyrics and I write the chord where it's going to change in the lyrics. That
Yeah.
simplified thing, and then everything else is just memory. Like I know I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, which is fine when you're writing your own music, but when you're trying to learn a cover and play it faithfully, it's hard. So I couldn't say it any better, though. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being on the channel, you two. Stick around. We're going to see the music video for Smoky Mountain Revival, and then we'll catch you in the outro. So, temporarily, say goodbye. You were supposed to say goodbye. Anyway.
I've got brand new songs for the folks who sing along. There's just nowhere else that I can see me spreading all this energy. And I can see a whole mile of highway in front of me, but there ain't no room for blues in the passenger seat. No one to control me. Maybe I can finally breathe. I don't want to be you, so just let me be me. Too many try, too many fail to stop this good old train. And I ain't gonna stop till I'm on my feet again. Well, I shouldn't have to cry in the sunshine, 'cause that light didn't hit your back door today. And I've done my time feeling sorry for myself. So it's time to get on, move on, and put that shit up on a shelf. No one to control me. Maybe I can finally breathe. I don't want to be you, so just let me be me. Too many try, too many fail to stop this good old train. And I ain't gonna stop till I'm on my feet again. La da 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 da
want to thank Moonshine Jasmine for coming on the channel. It was a great interview and an awesome music video. If you want to know more about them, check out down in the description. I put their social media links. And if you want to see more videos like this, click up there. If you want to hear my own music, click over there. And if you want to subscribe, click up there. You know the drill. In the meantime, remember to be amazing, and we'll see you next time on Room 6. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.